Hey Ross. Hi, how you doing? Have we got sound?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. How are
Good.
you?
Yeah, I'm really well. Wow, it's been a while since I've spoken to you. Good to have you here.
Oh, sorry, I missed that bit there, Alex. Were you talking to me there?
Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry. I think that happens when everybody jumps on the call. Anyway, good to see people join in. Mike is here,
Oh,
legend.
yeah.
Hello. Hi, Steve. Hey, Robert. Nice to have you all here. Oh, I need to change my view. Hang on. There we go. I can actually see all your lovely faces now. um, so while people are joining, God, it feels like ages since I've done one of these. That's because it has been ages. I apologise for the delay and the space in between them. There's been quite a lot going on in my life. First of all, I had a holiday, and then I moved house. So it's all been a bit crazy and up in the air. Plus starting a brand new job with Dan that you all know about. So yeah, lots of things going on. So it's good to be back. So today is a little bit different to the previous webinars because what we're going to do is we're going to pull out Mike in a moment, and it's mostly going to be a chance for us to learn from Mike and what he's been doing to create the amazing success that I'm hearing all about. I'll let him share all of that in a moment, but this is going to be a great opportunity for, I've got loads of pop-ups here. Let's get rid of those. It's going to be a great opportunity for us to mastermind and learn from someone who's like, you know, actively marketing right now and getting the sales and getting the leads and everything's happening. I've got a few questions I want to ask Mike, but for those of you that are on the call, it's your webinar as well. Hey Alicia, thanks for joining. So I was just saying, it's your chance to ask him questions as well. So if you've got questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And then, you know, when I get a chance as we go through the call, I will get to those as well. And we'll open it up to be a bit more of a mastermind, okay? So without further ado, I would love to introduce the amazing Mike Jacques, who I believe has only been marketing for a few months and has already got to L2 leadership level, which if you don't know means you have to have at least 25 members and quite a lot of money in commissions. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's well over 10,000 because L1 is 10,000. So Mike can tell us more about that in a moment. But yeah, come out and introduce yourself, Mike. For those, I think most of the people on the call probably know you, but just in case they don't, or people watching the replay, let's start by just telling us a little bit about like how long you've been here, when you joined SFM, that kind of thing.
Hi everyone, Mike Jacques. Good to meet you all. I think I met or spoken to quite a few of you individually anyway. I know I saw Ross's face, there he is, earlier on. Hi mate. So I joined, when did I join the SFM? I joined the SFM, I joined the SFM back in April this year, mid-April. Had a bit of a slow start because I'm a technology, I'm just terrible at technology. I could just about find my way around a Word document and an Excel spreadsheet if you're lucky. So anything beyond that was beyond me. So it took me a little bit longer from a technology perspective to get going and get through, you know, modules 2 to 5. But I sort of pretty much got there within a month. I sort of went on to Bing, but I guess you want to really find out probably a little bit more about me before I joined the SFM and where I came from and what my background was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to do all of it, Mike. We're going to leave no corner unturned.
Sure.
I love what you said there, first of all, about that, you know, that you're saying that was quite slow. I was thinking, wow, that's pretty good.
Right.
You know, for some people it takes months to get, like
Okay.
months and months and months to get.
Oh, I haven't finished the story yet. I got.
All right. So yeah, why don't you start by rewinding a little bit and tell us what you were doing before SFM and
Okay.
And you know how you found it.
Sure. Okay. What I was doing before SFM, and I guess the reason why I thought SFM would be a good fit for me. spent 30 years in IT sales, primarily software sales. So I guess I was a sales executive, sales director, selling to big banks, telcos. People looking on the outside would say I probably had a jet set type of life, flying around the world, meeting customers, hopefully taking money off of them, millions of dollars in revenue. But that was from an outside perspective. From an inside perspective, it meant I had to work an awful lot of hours, including weekends, traveling weeks away at a time from my family. I had to close massive deals, as I've already touched upon, which was incredibly stressful when you have huge targets to hit and the company is potentially living or dying by what you and your team are doing. So incredibly stressful job, which meant even when I was home at weekends or had some downtime, I was always thinking about work, could never switch off. So after 30 years of that, it was very exciting to start with. After 30 years, 2 divorces later, so that's 2 wives down, 4 kids down, 2 dogs gone, 1 home gone. At the age of 50, I arrived absolutely having nothing, lost a lot, walked away with a massive amount of debt from a big divorce settlement. And I started to really, if I hadn't already, started to really resent the work that I was doing. I could see what it had cost me. I became quite resentful. And my work started to suffer, clearly. And I was jumping from job to job because I was so dissatisfied, trying to find something that was a good fit for me, thinking that it was just another sales job if I changed company or if I changed the products I was selling, the teams I was working with, maybe that would be the right fit for me. I just had to find the right company. But after I met my third wife on the internet, so the internet sort of saved my life twice, really. But after I met my third wife and she picked me up out of the gutter after my second divorce and picked me up, shook me down, I realized there was this one thing in my life that was still wanting or broken, and that was my job. And I had to be truly happy and have some fulfillment in my life. I had to find something that wasn't software sales. So it came to a head in April 2019. I'd found a new job. I was 6 months in, building a UK team, so building my own business in effect, but for a big US company. And after spending all that time, the guy that I joined with left all of a sudden, and I had to report directly into the CEO, who happened to be a complete arsehole. So that relationship fizzled out pretty quickly. I remember having a one-on-one call with him, and he just said, "I can tell your heart's not in it. You're not adapting to the changes that I want. It's my company. I do what I want, and you're not adapting to the changes that I'm telling you need to make." And I just said, "You're right. Poke it. I've had enough." And he literally sort of pushed me to breaking point. So we agreed that if he sent me a certain worded email and I got a certain amount of money for the next few months, that I would leave that day. So I jumped at it, took it, and then thought, "Oh my God, what have I done?" But I knew I could find another job quite quickly. I had some money. I'd never had a problem getting another job. But after spending a couple of weeks, I decided I was going to take a month off. After spending a couple of weeks, I got really bored, sort of doing nothing. I was playing around on YouTube one day, looking for stuff about diving and monsters of the deep or some other crap like that. And Dan's video popped up. So
I was going to say, it's the monster.
That's his keyword. It's monsters of the deep is one of his keywords. So write that down, everybody. And up popped his advert, his bar ad. His famous bar ad. And of course, he had a similar background to me. He's a bit younger than me, but he'd also had a successful career in software sales. He walked away from a 6-figure salary, and he'd replaced his income in a fairly short time by doing stuff on the internet. So it really, really resonated with me. It was spot on. And I just thought, that's it. I don't have to update my CV. I don't have to go and work for another a-hole. I can get out of this. It felt like a hamster wheel. The faster I run after the cheese, the bigger the cheese I get, the more debt I get into. It's just a never-ending cycle of selling pressure money, and getting nowhere. So it was a eureka moment. I just thought, fantastic, this is it. This is an alternative. Immediately after, though, I filled in the form and saw module 1, I just thought, oh, it's a scam.
That was going
got to
be
a scam. It's too good. Yeah, it's too good to be true. It's all very flashy, very American-y. It's a scam. So I put my application in to prove it was a scam. I actually signed up thinking, I'll risk $30 and prove it's a scam. I got into sort of module 2, module 3, and started to think, well, actually, this is quite hard. So if they just wanted my money, they could make this a lot easier. But I got to module 5, and then I had something that was working. I like to call it my internet engine. My automated engine. And it's the first time I'd ever built a website. First time I actually understood all the components in a business website. And I'd actually created something. I'd actually, my wife would slap me if I said this, but I'd actually given birth to something. And it had been quite painful, but I'd done it. And then all I had to do was decide what platform I pointed this thing at, and it would start generating cash for me. Just press the button and sit back and watch the money roll in, because I was here for the money. And so I obviously became a full member to get to module 5. I then pretty quickly went elite because I didn't understand about any of the marketing stuff. That was a mystery to me. Didn't have a clue about how to write ads on Bing, which is the platform I chose, etc. And I was getting quite lost. So I went through elite, but true to my form, I skipped through everything very, very quickly. And I burnt some money on elite, too much money really. I should have taken everyone's advice and went in with a very small budget and experimented with that money and being willing to lose it. I didn't. I went in quite aggressively because I had this pot of cash that was shrinking. I had no income. I had to get to replacing my income as quickly as possible. So I was doing everything I could to rush through the modules and rush through everything. Anyway, a few weeks into Bing, I blew Bing up. I blew my account up anyway. Bing shut down all my ads. I don't know what I did. So I did something terrible, obviously, because I hadn't been listening to the training. I hadn't been even reaching out to people on Facebook at that stage. I was just trying to do it all on my own and as quickly as possible. Yeah. And I think that's when I first reached out to scrap the 9 to 5 and actually, because I was stuck. And I was, do I quit or do I carry on? And that's when I first reached out and started to look for help and realized there was help on Facebook, etc., in the tribe. And I decided that after talking to a number of people, Dan included, that I was going to not rebuild Bing and start all over again. I was actually going to take June off, redo all my landing pages on my website and make it Google compliant, and then go on YouTube. I've never been on camera before, apart from family photos and videos. But for some strange reason, YouTube was it. Dan had made it work. I can make it work. So I spent June making my site compliant. I shot my first ad last week in June and got it on YouTube and got all that YouTube stuff set up. Partly, there was bits missing, but I was rushing. And I basically had my first few leads coming in the end of June, which was great. Getting my first lead I remember that, jumping up and down in excitement. I then got my first app, I think, in the first week in July. So I just carried on basically reaching out for help, tweaking, experimenting what worked and what didn't work. But things started to move for me really, really quickly when I sort of copied the Valerie ad, made it my own, and went onto YouTube. It was a bit of a bumpy ride, really. It was, but only because I was rushing things.
Yeah. I don't think anybody gets where you are without having a bumpy ride. I think that's just part of the course, and it looks different for everyone. But thank you for sharing all of that. That's really awesome. By the way, just a reminder, guys, if anyone's got any questions at any point, if it's relevant to what's actually being talked about, feel free just to unmute. If it's something different that you want Mike to address or myself to address at some point, then pop it in the chat and we'll get to it. Wow, there's a lot there already, and already so many questions I want to ask you. So I think the first thing that I need to address is the whole skepticism thing. So it's really interesting that you actually joined to prove it's a scam. So what was the turning point for you, do you think, when that changed?
It was quite. It carried on until I got my first app. I didn't believe in it, the SFM, or more importantly, I didn't believe in myself. That even if I could see, and I could see, there was many people making it work. Obviously, people like Dan who were mega successful, and Valerie, and so on and so forth. Stuart and Jay, obviously multi-millionaires. So I knew it worked. I knew that they built the system to let try and make other people make it work. But you still have that doubt: can I make it work? Self-doubt. So I think by module 5, and once I started to get a few leads, I realised it worked. This machine generated interest. My advertising could generate interest and clicks and leads. But it wasn't until I remember waking up one morning and looking at my phone, and there was an odd email from Stuart and Jay. And I thought, why are they writing to me? And I opened it up, and it was my first sale, my first app, and that was just like, wow. And I've been asleep. Someone in the US had signed up to on my website, and that was the moment I thought, well, wow, if I can get 1, I can get 10. And if I can get 10, I can get 100, and so on and so forth. But then more doubts come up. Yeah, but that's just an app. Can I get members? Can I get? Does the whole machine work from start to finish? And can I make a living from it? And there's all these. As soon as you get rid of one little voice, then you get 2 or 3 others pop up, the new doubts. And even now I'm getting new doubts popping up. What happens if Google turns the switch off and it all comes grinding to ridiculous thoughts,
Yeah.
But still, that's the way it works, isn't it? You overcome one hurdle and you create another one for yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm nodding my head with everything you're saying because I'm also feeling it, and I'm sure Ross is nodding along as well, and probably a lot of other people watching. So yeah, it's just the way it goes, isn't it? So at what point did you decide to go black, and how, what was that thought process? Because if you were so skeptical, how did you get there?
That's a very good question. So when I'd got to the point where I got my first app, or I now had a decision to make, which is, obviously I'm not going to earn an income from that sort of level of business, but I could see it was working. I could see other people making a huge success of it. And I've been a salesman all my life, all my career. And sales guys always take the easy route. It's not really a hard job if you're fairly good at it. So you always, if you can, slack off, take the easy route, quit. If something gets tough, just go and get another job. And I knew it was, ignoring the technology, that was torturous for me. But I knew it was going to get even harder now come the marketing stuff, because marketing is not sales. What it is and it isn't. It's totally different from one-on-one face-to-face sales, completely different. And I knew if I was going to master that, and it was going to be difficult, and I knew because I just invested in Elite and I could see how much there was to learn, the only way I was going to do it was to coin a phrase of a Viking: when you land on the beach, burn the effing boats. Mm-hmm. So I had to make sure that there was no way back. Otherwise, if it got hard, I would quit. So I had a certain amount of money from my divorce from my boss. I could use that money for marketing for quite some time, but then that would also let me off the hook and make me relax and take it easy and spend many months building all this up. And I wanted to get to replacing my income as quickly as I possibly could. So basically I took a large chunk of that money off the table, put it into the SFM. That's it. I'm committed. There's no way back. Now I've got to make this work. Failure is not an option. So that was it. And if I had walked away, I would have had a third divorce on my hands. So it wasn't that.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's very similar to my experience as well. I think that is, a lot of people seem to go through that thought process. It's like you know that you want this thing, but whether you're really going to commit to making it happen, and you know, that decision to go all in and invest that amount of money and go black, it's, you know, you're tying yourself to that commitment, because no one's going to walk away from that kind of investment. So yeah,
that was my plan, and I'm not going to, I assure you.
good, and it's working, so this is awesome. Okay, so I've just got one more question before we get into a bit more like nitty gritty stuff, because I'm sure loads of people here want to know exactly what you're doing, so we can dig into that shortly, but I would love to know, for the people who are not quite at the marketing stage yet, for the, you know, there's plenty of people that are just apps, brand new members that might watch the replay, or you know, maybe they're watching live, and what was like the biggest challenge so far that you've had to overcome? Because I think for everybody it's different, but I think a lot of the time, you know, I just really believe that we have to share this stuff a bit more in our community, because whatever each person is struggling with, they're not alone. There's like someone else, probably a lot of other people struggling with those things as well, and the more we talk about it, the more it helps other people. So I'd love to know what it was for you, and kind of how you overcame that.
Well, I've already touched on the technology thing, because that was very disheartening, and but the technical support team were great. I was talking to them every day, nearly every hour, so I got to know them really well. But ignoring the technology stuff, because that's all fixable, and I knew it was fixable. It was just going to take a lot for them to fix it for me, or for me to fix it for myself. I think the biggest challenge was when I started to talk to my wife and my friends and family about this crazy idea that I had called online marketing, or going online. No one in my family or anybody that they knew had ever done this, because I think someone said to me, we're 1/100th of 1% of the global population make their living from the internet. So it's unmeasurable. So we're quite unique, and we're quite hard to find. I guess if you look around any community, there's not many individuals are making a living off of the internet, apart from these big Goliaths of corporations. So there was a lot of doubts and a lot of backslapping, laughing. Oh, it's a pyramid scheme. It's multi-level marketing. It's a scam. And even though I knew at that point pretty much that it wasn't, and I had proof to myself that it wasn't, it still knocks your confidence. It still makes it really hard to make those hard decisions, like going black. I even went to the bank, and the bank were questioning me and wouldn't let me take my money out because they thought it was a scam. So I had to fight with the bank to get my money out of the bank so I could invest in black. And I was so angry. In fact, I was going to do a 90-day video challenge. That's the only day I did on the 90-day video challenge, was me ranting and raving at the camera about how NatWest was keeping my money and not letting me take my money. So, you know, even the bank, you know, were on my, you know, saying, we don't believe it. You need to wait a week. We're not going to let you take your money, which is crazy. I went and took my money anyway. I took it online. But so I'm really looking forward to the day when I can walk back into NatWest and plonk down $30,000, $40,000 to say, I was going to deposit this, but I'm not now. I will do that, by the way. That's just the way I tick. So that was it, really. It was these doubts. It was, you know, and now I've got a friend of the family. He's just been made, he got a new job and has been made redundant within a month. You know, he was sort of sniggering at me when we were in a pub one day. He's now asking me about, how do I join? How does this work? He's been out of work now for quite a while. There's quite a few people, friends and family, that are now turning around saying, how's he doing this? My wife included. My wife now wants me to get her out of her job early part of next year. So she's already planning her exit to come and work with me, not full-time, but part-time. So everybody around me that were doubting are now sort of sitting back and saying, wow, it's real, isn't it? Yep, told you so. So it's quite refreshing, really. It's nice, not rubbing their nose in it, that's the wrong way, but going back and gently proving them wrong, and watching them sit up and scratch their head and, how's he doing it? What's he doing? I still can't explain what I do. It's very difficult to explain what I do, but yeah, it's very difficult. So that was the hardest thing. I'm rambling a bit here, but that was the hardest thing to overcome those doubts.
No, it's great. We're loving the share. There's people who are sharing in the chat that they're loving the share as well.
Yeah, I can see it. Like, shut up, stop. Yeah.
Put him on mute. Don't worry, I can mute you if I want to. So when you were in that space and no one around you was believing, how did you deal with that? What advice could you give to people who are in that same situation? Because I hear that all the time. You're not alone with that experience. Yeah,
and I've got members ringing me up. I had one this morning in exactly the same position. It's very difficult. I don't think there's a simple answer to it, and if there is, I haven't found it yet. You've got to be at a point. Well, I tell you how I managed it. Really, I think the fear of me giving up or the fear of me quitting before I went black, when all this was going on, the fear of me quitting was the fear of me going back to the job that I had and not being able to sleep at weekends because I was worried about the Monday morning sales call, and I was worried about a deal not going down and losing my job, and that was constant. That was a daily gut-wrenching experience for me being in sales. There wasn't an easy day. Every day I was worried. Every weekend I was worried. I would have panic attacks. It was just awful, an awful existence to be in. And the way I overcome it, I shouldn't really share this, but the company that I left, they forgot to take me off the sales call, the weekly sales call. So every Tuesday afternoon, I used to dial in and listen to the sales call on my mobile, so they couldn't see who it was listening in. And I used to just sit back, and it would give me such a boost because I remember how stressed I was and how much I dreaded those calls. And it used to give me such a boost just listening to the bullshit that they were coming out with about these deals that I knew more about than they did. And I knew some of them weren't going to happen. And they were just inventing information and lying to keep the bosses happy. And this happened week in, week out. And I used to have to do exactly the same just to keep the bosses off my back. That sort of push kept me going. And I knew I did not want the fear of that outweighed the fear of all of these little demons and all these little doubts and everybody doubting what I was doing. That's what kept driving me on, the fear of going back. And that's what made me go black. It wasn't going to happen. There you go. Take my money. I'm in.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's it's your why, isn't it? Your why was strong enough. So yeah, great. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Steve says in the chat, it's not just a sales thing. It's the same thing in project management. I'm sure it's the same in lots of industries as well. So yeah, that's that's powerful motivation on its own, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so let's now start digging into how you actually got where you are. And I cannot believe, did I hear correctly that you said you haven't done the 90-day video journey?
I did one day, which was me ranting about NatWest. It was a very long it was probably a 90-minute video in itself because I was that angry. I think I posted it. It's probably been taken down. I was swearing in it probably, but it was, and that was it. I thought, today's the day. I've now got something to talk about for once, NatWest, and how angry I am with them. And then that was it. I got so into it. Right, how do I get them? I just went. So no, I never did it. I focused all my energy on shooting ads and venting my spleen at NatWest. Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing because a lot of people, to have to go through that process to get comfortable on camera, especially, I know you're advertising on YouTube. So was that just something that came naturally to you? You didn't, how did you overcome that hurdle of getting natural on camera then?
I guess I've been on stage before in sales environments, sort of going up and getting awards and having to talk to people about big deals that we'd done. And that was terrifying. So talking to a camera where there's no one in the room, in your office or in the garden, I could do it, and I did 20, 30 times before I got something that was half decent, that I could, put up on the internet, put up on YouTube. So, I've got so many outtakes over and over and over again. Then I got bored and coffee and back over and over. So it just keep trying and trying and trying until you get something that you could even patch together that's half decent, and you don't look like a complete moron. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So you basically did your own 90-day video journey, just didn't share it with anyone.
Exactly. I was doing 90 takes a day rather than 90. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's a way to speed it up, I guess. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so with regards to like where you're at right now then, so maybe share, because how many people on the call here are actively marketing, just to get an idea of what's going to be most useful for people? Okay, the majority are actively marketing. And most of you are Bing or YouTube, right? I think I kind of know what most of you are doing. Yeah. So I guess what would be really useful, and guys, again, add your questions in the chat. We've only got one so far from Steve, which I'll get to in a moment. With regards to your marketing, tell us in a bit more detail what you're doing, like how many campaigns you've got, what's working, what's not working. Like, what was that process like?
Okay. Again, it was very chaotic to start with, because again, I hadn't joined Dan's calls. I launched myself into all of this, and I skipped a lot of calls as well because I knew best and I had other things to do. I soon learnt my lesson very, very quickly. Very costly lesson as well. So I shot my first ad and it got some traction after a week, getting one app, which apparently is pretty good, and it was getting lots of leads. But I was only getting, I think my goal after listening to one of Dan's calls was to get 10 leads a day. It was great, and I knew 100 leads equals one app, and I sort of got that early. Then I had a bit of a delay, and then I got another app. But I was listening to these early metrics, leads to apps and apps to members, and writing it all down constantly, telling myself, well, if I get these percentages, then I must be doing something right. And I was slowly, I've still got them on the whiteboard, ticking off my first ad on Bing, my first 1,000 clicks, my first lead, my first app. And my first app was £18 for that lead. So, yeah, I was really roaring. I was doing terrible. But I kept writing it down. And every time I made a milestone, I would just go to the whiteboard and adjust it. But I left up the crap so I knew there was progress before I got to a spreadsheet, that is. So, but I ended up, before I really got serious, I shot the first ad. I didn't have a microphone. The sound was terrible. The camera was my iPhone sitting on a little tripod thingy on my desk. So as I'm touching the desk, the camera's shaking, the sound's crap. I'm trying to read a script running on the phone, so that didn't look very good. I'm sure my eyes are all over the place. But it resonated. It worked. I guess it was so raw and so crap that people believed it.
I have to interrupt there just quickly, because I think this is a really important point to make, that like imperfect action, like yes. So much of the time we delay ourselves, we hold back, we stop taking steps forwards because we think that we're not ready, or we need some proper equipment, or we need to have this much knowledge, or there's always something that we feel we have to perfect before we can take the next step. And I definitely experienced a lot of that. And I remember at one stage, it was during the Transcend You challenge, and it was only because of the accountability, only because of the fact that I'd said I've got to do X, Y, Z, and I had that like public kind of people looking at me like, you've got to do this. Only because of that, I ended up, one day I had like a deadline to meet with my ads, and I had like no tripod, no microphone, I had nothing, and I literally piled up all these chairs and tables, and I made like this ridiculous stand to be able to prop my phone on, and it kept sliding to the side, and I'd do a whole take and I'd be like, oh, it's crooked. Like,
no, I did exactly the same. I had a box because I saw somewhere on one of the training things the camera should be above your eye height. My first shots were below. I'm looking down at people. So I had to get a box on my table and lift everything up. And then I'm videoing and the clouds would come over. So there's, 1 minute I'm looking good, next minute everything's black because the clouds just rolled over. Oh, it was awful. The amount of takes I did. And then I'm screwing up on the script and having to rewrite it because the way you write and the way you talk is different. Mm-hmm. So you have to write the script the way you talk, foibles and all. And so I finally got big view. Oh, I forgot what it's called now. Big VU, isn't it? Big VU is the teleprompter script. You can have it on an iPhone or an Android where you can see yourself, make sure you're in frame, but you can have the script rolling and read from it while you're looking directly into the camera. But no, so I ended up shooting the first ad with no B-roll, no music, very poor sound, very poor video quality as well, shaking all over the place. I then I didn't even have captions on it, so then I added captions and had 2 ads running, raw and with captions. Captions started to perform better than the raw. Mm. I then added some B-roll, which was just still photos interspersed. That went even better. I then added music, some light piano music, emotional music, free music from somewhere I got, and that bombed. That didn't do very well at all. So I realised I think I had the perfect mix, a little bit of B-roll to break up my monotonous talking to the camera. But no, the music seemed to be too polished, so raw seemed to work for me. But you're right. I mean, I'm mentoring a few people now, and and they say, oh, I've got a draft ad. Do you mind having a look at it or a video? And I just say, well, it's not perfect. There's always improvements, but just put it out there because, if you have Stuart looking at your videos or Dan or Valerie or anybody, we'll always critique them. There's always something wrong with all of the ads. But just like Dan's bar ad, it was an afterthought. It was a joke. He was never going to use it, and he threw it out there because the ad he was really working on, he didn't have time to finish. So he threw it out there just so he got an ad up, and boom, best performing ad ever. Mm-hmm. It's the people out there that decide whether it's a good video or not you and I. And my most polished videos are bombed, and the ones where I've got a dog running in the background, I think, oh, damn, he's ruined it. That's the one that's taken off. Yeah. And they tell you never have distractions in the background. Well, the one where I've got a dog running around with his teddy trying to make me play while I'm trying to shoot a video is the one that's 700,000 views now. So astonishing.
Wow. So these are key, really useful points, people. So make sure you're listening because this is the thing. People relate it to real people. They relate to the realness of your life with your dog running around in the background. And what I'm also getting from that is the importance of like testing your ad with the B-roll, without the B-roll, with the music, with the music, doing all of that, because you might like spend ages shooting an ad and then, maybe it doesn't perform as well as you'd hoped, but that doesn't mean you got nothing there to work with. That doesn't mean you have to chuck it in the bin. That just means maybe it needs some tweaks. Maybe the first couple of sentences need changing. Maybe you need to change the music, So those are really great points. I'm going to hand over to Ross. Ross has got a couple of questions. So if you want to unmute and go ahead and ask.
How are you doing, Mike?
I'm good. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
I can. Still on the rigs by the looks of things.
Yes, mate, yes. Just so everybody else knows, Mike actually took the time to give me a call last week, and he was so helpful. So I've got even more questions for him. But what it is, mate, I took your advice and I started doing some testing, different territories, different keywords and stuff. So you mentioned that you'd done a lot of testing at the start, and my question is, buddy, how long were you like leaving something testing before you made the decision to either pause or take action on it? Because like I've done some testing with some keywords. Some are performing, some are not. Done some testing on some territories. Some countries are just pulling all the spend, and some are not getting any spend. So I'm like, I don't want to play with it too much because I want to let it find its feet. But like, how long were you giving it a certain amount of spend or a certain amount of time, or were you just kind of going off your intuition and then just making a decision off of that?
No, so I hope the US is performing well. By the way, that's it's not, no? Really.
What I done, mate, I put in like the advice that you gave us, I've done Australia, US, Canada, and New Zealand, and South Africa. South Africa is just stealing all the spend, and I'm just assuming it's because the GDP there is so low, so it's just stealing all the leads. So I think I've had one or two apps from there, so I'm just kind of leaving that one just to see how it goes.
Okay.
And I've opened up a separate campaign without South Africa. In the US, I think it's spent 80 quid up to now, and the cost per lead's about £5. So I've got all my other campaigns are sitting like the South Africa one sitting like 50 pence, which is obviously going to be that low. I'm just going to give that another few more leads and see how that goes. But all the rest of the campaigns are running at like £2. So I'm like the US, Canada, and Australia are not really. I don't know. Like I'm just like, do a pause or do just leave it a little more?
So what I do, and I'll tell you why I do it as well in a minute. What I do is I at the beginning of the month I have a set budget, so I know what I'm going to be spending for the month, and therefore per day. So I break it down. Each campaign I have, I target a region, as I said to you before. So I've got one UK and Ireland. I've got one Europe, which is all the major power blocks in Europe, because there are lots of expats in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, etc., 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 the Nordics included. Because of Brexit, I have UK and Ireland out to that. Sorry for the joke. But so I have it as a separate region. I then have US and Canada. And then I have one called England English, the rest of the world. Originally, I had in there countries like, I don't know why I did this, India, Bangladesh, Singapore, anywhere I could think there was a lot of English-speaking people. Hong Kong, Taiwan, etc., etc. But and South Africa was one of those as well. And South Africa always took up nearly half of the spend for the rest of the world pot. I was getting so many leads, but so few apps. I decided to take out South Africa because it was just hogging all the budget. And then the same with India, Singapore, Bangladesh. I took those out as well. And then eventually I was getting a good volume of leads, about 50, was it 50p a lead? I think it was. Yeah, a good volume of leads, under 50p a lead. But I was getting the apps converting as well. So an astonishing cost per lead. So yeah, that's the way I sort of wasted a bit of money, but did it that way. I didn't make those decisions until after the end of the month, though. I let that budget run. I knew I was going to spend that budget. And unless it was completely disastrous and I wasn't getting any apps at all, then, I was going to let it run to the end of the month. So pretty much I did that. Towards the end of the month, I turned off South Africa. I made up my mind that they weren't converting. So I started to switch them off. Yeah.
I'm kind of similar when it comes to my budget. I'm like, I know like that's my monthly spend. So I know like anything that I've invested over the time, whenever it does happen, and it does happen for me, like it won't matter. And yeah. I'm kind of the same. It's just like my intuition's kind of telling us that South Africa's it's not giving anything else a chance to spend. So I was like, well, I'll just pause that.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's just I have to look at a monthly testing thing from now on.
And I'll tell you what will happen as well. I did the same with the Caribbean. I looked at the Caribbean and I added the Caribbean in Jamaica, St. Kitts, and all of these sort of English-speaking Caribbean, because my logic said there's a lot of money there, yachts, millionaires. Not that they would be probably wanting to join the SFM, but there's still a lot of money there. A very vibrant economy. Jamaica again took off, a bit like South Africa, and I let it run for a month and then stopped it. And as soon as I stopped it, app started to come in. So I'm now sitting here, and I'm not going to put it back in until next month, but I probably will end up putting it back in next month. I don't think I'll put. I did get a few apps, and I actually got one elite from South Africa as well. But there was just too much poor traffic versus good traffic. It might be something I'll relook at another time and experiment with something different. But at the moment, I'm parking it and trying to get my money spent on countries that have a high GDP, a wealthy population, primarily wealthy population, where people have got the money basically to build a business. Yeah,
that's a really, really good point, because like at the end of the day, we can spend all of our time trying to get a low cost per lead, and a lot of the time people get a bit what's the word, like kind of tunnel vision, like I've got to get my cost per lead down, you know, I've got to get a cheaper cost per lead, someone's getting a cheaper cost per lead than me, that means I'm doing something wrong. But you know, like if you're getting it, you've also got to factor in your cost per app, because at the end of the day we need to be making the sales, and you know, you can be getting an amazing cheap cost per lead, but if you're not getting the apps, then that's totally pointless.
And as I spoke to Ross the other day, and I'm mentoring a few other people as well who've got very high cost per leads, and they want to get, you know, a tenth of the cost like I've got. I mean, I think the average is £5 per lead, or $5 a lead, somewhere around that. So to get my average at the moment is about 50p a lead, 51p for this month. So to get down to that clearly means the traffic I'm attracting is not going to be as good as someone paying £5 a lead. It can't be. And they're getting higher conversions from lead to app. But my logic is, well, if I've got 10 times the traffic, and even if I make, you know, a tenth or, you know, double the amount of apps from that, if that makes sense, you know, if I get 2 rather than the 1, if I spend £5 and get 1 app, that's good. If I spend £5 but get 100 leads and get 2 or 3 apps, then that's even better. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. The volume, there are nuggets in that stream of stuff flying through my internet engine, and I'm catching most of those nuggets. So and the remarketing I've started to do, and I'll talk in a minute about other. Once you've got a good flow of leads, once you've got a good volume running through your engine, and you are getting apps, there are other areas you can focus on your engine, the turbocharger and the fuel injection system, and I'm talking about things like Aweber and remarketing, and the turbocharger would be the remarketing, putting back the traffic that's already gone through, didn't convert, you put it back through again and again and again, and you get your conversions start to double and your cost per lead comes down. There are lots of different tricks to recycle those leads so it's not wasted money. And Aweber is another one where you build campaigns out that go on for perhaps months. I'm not there yet, and I didn't start even with anything on Aweber, any campaign apart from the standard SFM one. I didn't start until the 1st of September. So I had something like 6,000 subscribers that I hadn't touched, I hadn't communicated with at all the 1st of September while I was away on holiday. So I had to do an Aweber campaign running backwards. I called it my legacy campaign, going off all the way back to the last week in June. And then a new Aweber campaign running at all the new people that were coming in, moving forward from the 1st of September. So I really left it late, but then that gave my business a real hockey stick I was sort of getting double the leads because I was recycling the leads that had already been through. And then I did remarketing after talking to Dan a few weeks after that, which I hadn't done at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, all these tricks really fine tune your engine to get the most out of your ad. Yeah.
So anyone who wants to know more about remarketing, there was a lot of time spent on this this week on the Marketing Mastery call. So if you weren't on it, catch the replay. It did seem to be the topic of the day. And I think it was kind of spurred on by Valerie, because he did a Black call on Monday and was all about remarketing, and then everyone had remarketing questions for Dan on Tuesday. So that would be a good one to watch to know about that. It's definitely like the thing is, don't get overwhelmed if you're not yet marketing. Like I want to remind, like there's a lot of people at different stages in their business watching this. Like all of these things happen slowly over time, you know, like you just said, Mike, like you only recently got around to doing the Aweber emails. You know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like sometimes people get their first lead and then they're like, oh God, like I need to do emails. It's like, no, you don't. You need to focus on getting leads, because there's no point spending time on the emails until till those earlier, the ads working, the leads are coming in, and that's what you did, Mike. So awesome. So I think we have to find out more about how you're getting these 50-cent cost per leads. What other countries, because I'm not sure we fully got that from the conversation with Ross, because you guys have obviously talked before. What are the countries that you're targeting that are giving you that, and maybe you can just talk a little bit about that for people.
Yeah, so so I've currently, let me have a look at my dashboard. So I've currently only got, I went down from at one point 6 or 7 different ads, videos, and multiple variants of them. So roughly, to set up a campaign, I would choose a territory, let's just say US and Canada. I would decide whether I was going to go topics, placements, or keywords. And then I would probably overlay an audience, which is another layer of filtering, and it would be business professionals. So all of mine are business professionals. And then I would start overlaying keywords like motivational speakers, and really just trying to get into the mindset of my avatar. And my avatar was based on me going through divorce, midlife crisis, etc., big changes in life. You know, where would my avatar, me, hang out, going through all of that? What would I be looking for on YouTube? Because that was my platform of choice. What sort of things would I be typing into YouTube? And it probably wouldn't be keywords. It probably wouldn't be online business, because I wasn't looking for that. It might be change of career and stuff like that. But it also equally might be Harley Davidson motorbikes, because I want to go and buy a motorbike because I'm sick of having wife, kids, and taking all my money, and now I've got a bit of free money. Maybe I want to go and buy a Harley Davidson motorbike or a yacht or whatever. So you really got to get into the mindset of your avatar and start to, and what I focus on is keywords. Rather than topics, standard generic topics, I focus on keywords and building them out. And that's taken me quite a bit of time. I do it every day. Every day I see something on YouTube, Facebook, a new author that's got a book and they've got millions of followers, a new YouTube channel with millions of followers, I think. My avatar might be hanging out there. I'll capture the name, I'll add it to a list of keywords, and at the end of the week, I'll take out all the keywords that haven't performed at all, and I'll drop in all the new keywords and just carry on honing all of my campaigns. One on the US, Canada, one on Europe, one on UK and Ireland, and one of them is the rest of the English-speaking world, bar a few countries that we've spoken about. So that's how I structure my ad. I've only got one video ad running because that was the one that performed the best after 3 months. I've let that one run. It's doing incredibly well. I'm currently getting about 300 leads a day. And where am I? I've got lost here. Today. What about yesterday? Hang on a second. I'm just drilling into my ads. Yesterday, I got 278 conversions yesterday. So that's leads, people that have started the video series. And what did I get yesterday? And I got 3 apps yesterday. So reasonably good, and a member yesterday as well. So reasonably good progress. But again, I'm going for volume rather than quality. And there are other people that I guess use different keywords, use topics, use placements. I know, Alex, you do some of this from memory from watching one of your calls a few months ago. I think your cost per lead is higher, but you've probably got a much, much better normal conversion rate than me, probably like 2.5% to 3%, as opposed to my sort of 1%.
I know I never got to 2% either. I've actually paused my marketing at the moment, but yeah, I was struggling to get that 2% conversion. But I did feel that the leads that were coming through, I definitely felt like I was speaking to the right audience and people, that there was a lot of connection immediately. Whereas I think sometimes, if you've got leads that you're talking to and, straight away it just feels off or awkward, or what they want is like you'll get a vibe. Like if you speak to your leads, this is where you get a lot of information from, and you'll get a vibe for what they're after and what they're about. And the one thing I did find is that I did feel like I was attracting very like-minded people. So in that respect, it makes sense that it was like a smaller niche, if you like. But yeah, that 2% lead to app conversion is not as easy as it sounds. It's a work in progress for a lot of people.
I'm working on it, and I will. Now I've got the luxury of that volume of leads, that volume of apps, and now members, and now elites, and and now the revenue's coming in, and I don't need to worry about money. Of course, I need to worry about money, but I can relax now and now start focusing on other parts of my engine and start polishing, fine-tuning, tweaking, experimenting, because I'm taking the money from last month and putting it all back in, plus some, so I'm scaling as well. I'm learning how to scale the business, and I'm doubling my revenue every month at the moment. So, and I want to continue that before I take any money out, because that's clearly going to stop the growth or curve the growth angle. But sooner or later, I've got to eat. God, I've gone 3 months without eating now.
Oh, brilliant. No, I was going to ask, we haven't got long left, so if anyone has got any questions, do jump out or type them in the chat, because I've just got endless questions. I could keep going. But I wanted to ask about the scaling, because I think for a lot of people hearing some of these numbers, they might be like, oh God, like I'm only getting 2 leads per day, or how does that happen? So just to give us an idea of that journey, just, where did you start? Where are you at now? How did that happen?
So my first goal was to get 10 leads a day, and that took quite a few weeks to get up to that point. And then it was, okay, well, if I can get 10 leads nearly every day, I'll try and get 100 leads a week, was my next goal. And that would mean I get 1 app per week. And I got there, by doing what I've explained I was doing, just, experimenting with keywords, taking out the stuff that didn't work after a few weeks, putting in new ones, and just keep doing that. I do that every month now. I keep dumping new keywords in as I go every week. But at the end of the month, if the keyword's been there a month and it hasn't performed, I'll probably take them out, only because I'm sick of just scrolling down the screen. Otherwise, I just leave them in there. I'm running with probably about 150 keywords at the moment. Some people say go with 1 keyword per ad. No, I'm just putting them all in, seeing what works, taking them out. So to get to my quality, eventually I will go in and do some fine tuning to look at which keywords have a high cost per app and which ones have a low cost per app, and try, when I got my tracking properly sorted out, try and work out which ones convert. Because, as you say, it's not all about which ones go to app. Are they going to stay? Are they serious? Or, or are they like me here just to prove it was a scam, and they'll just drop out maybe. So there's a lot of learning I've yet to do. I'm only 3 months in marketing. I've seen all parts of my engine fire now, and I know it works, it's real, it's going to work for me. I can make a success of this. And now it's really down to learning more, tuning. I'm going back over all the elite stuff. I'm going to improve on my ad, focusing on my ads now to make sure I've got a really punchy hook on my ad. I don't know whether people want to see my ad and get some ideas from that. But yeah, it's really, I'm going to, once I get to my goal, my monthly goal on revenue, then start focusing on quality and squeeze even more money out from my monthly investment.
Amazing. It's really interesting because it is a very different approach to what a lot of people are doing. So it'd be great to keep following your journey and see how that's going for you. Definitely would like to see the ads. Steve agrees. What I'll do is, if you want to pop it in the chat for those that are on the call, maybe if you wouldn't mind doing that, I can ramble for a bit while you do that. And then what I'll do is I'll also pop it in the replay so that it's available for everybody else watching, not live. Does anyone want to jump out and ask anything? Anyone been sitting there with a question that I haven't asked, or something they're dying to share, maybe just about your own marketing or your own journey? Doesn't have to be directly a question for Mike.
Mike, I don't want to steal the show, mate, and take all your time, but I've got about 1 million questions.
Go on. It's all right with Alex. Fire away, yeah. Yeah,
if that's okay, Alex. Sorry, if anyone wants to, I'll just pause and someone else can jump in. If anybody's got a question, I don't want to.
Go on, they all had a chance. You got in there.
Mate, it's kind of. I don't even know. Like, it's. So I've got like my cost per lead's like good. My cost per app is good. My cost per member is horrendous. Like, I don't even know if I've got a question in there somewhere. It's just, what do you kind of do app-wise? I mean, I know we spoke about this last week. Do you just like drop them a little email? Do you give them a ring? Or can you instantly tell whether they're serious? I mean, like, when I speak to people, that they seem like my avatar and stuff, but member-wise, it's just not happening for me. Member-wise, I think I'm at like 20%, 25% up to member, and I feel as if it's just killing us. Do you know what I mean? Like, with the amount of money I'm putting into it every month. So don't know if you've got any advice on that.
Yeah, again, I neglected that area. I think in August I had quite a few apps, quite a few members, and then I was getting like, crikey, nearly a 50% dropout rate. I was ignoring everybody. I didn't communicate with them at all. I didn't phone them, email them, didn't do anything. And suddenly I saw all these dropouts, and I'm thinking, why are they dropping it? And then obviously I realised it's like, you might need to talk to them. Maybe people think you're not real, you know. So I got a bit of advice from, it was Ingrid, I think. I got a bit of advice from someone to say, right, first thing you need to do, every time you get an app come through, go into your sales dashboard, grab their phone number, drop them a WhatsApp, because that's like, they know that's not an automated email. You know, and first of all, they think, wow, how did they get my phone number? Well, they've had to fill out a form. You sort of get a feeling whether they're real or not, because if they're not on WhatsApp, they're either very old because they don't know what WhatsApp is, or it might be a bogus phone number in there. So that gives you a feel. And if they're not on WhatsApp, you just send them an email. But I just send them a congratulations on making a bold move. Welcome to the SFM. I'm going to let you crack on with my mentor, Stuart Ross, to go through module 1, blah, 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 blah. Let's have a chat when you get to the end of module 1. Always happy to talk. And now I'm even including, I've got a calendar where they can go in, see my calendar and book a call with me. Not many of them do at that stage. And then when they go, some of them ping back and say, thank you for the welcome. But when they go member, I then send them another email to say, wow, you're really serious now, aren't you? I can tell. Congratulations, you're now a full member. You've now got access to the Facebook tribe. Here's how you sign up to the Facebook tribe. And by the way, once you've done that, I'd like to personally invite you to scrap the 9 to 5. Here's how you sign up for that as well. Again, I do that on WhatsApp. And if they're not on WhatsApp, I do that on email. My dropout rate suddenly went from, you know, members and apps just down to the odd app now, which if the SFM is not the right place for them, once they've signed up as an app and they've made that journey through module 1, if it's not the right place, then they need to go. So it's no loss really.
Yeah, you will get people dropping out all the time. Like it's really normal. And the thing is, early on in your journey, that can be so disheartening. I remember like experiencing my first few cancellations, and you know, you suddenly are like, oh no, what am I doing wrong? But
what have I done? Yeah.
You know, the truth is it happens all the time. Not everybody has got what it takes to do this journey, to stick at it. And that's okay, you know, like that's just a part of it. That's why, you know, the power is in the high ticket sales. So It doesn't matter if you've got members dropping off, because when you get to a point and you've scaled enough, you'll be getting so many members that there'll be enough high ticket sales, as in like the DEA sales, that makes your business profitable. You know, like I obviously like see Dan's back office and stuff like that. He has members cancelling all the time. Like it's really normal. So don't let that worry you. Just keep going.
I just look at it as part of my engine. It's the oil filter. Some of the sludge has to go through the oil filter.
Yeah.
But one little tip: when you've got them on, when you've connected them on WhatsApp, and they've gone from a lead to an app to a member, hopefully they don't get that far and then cancel. Although I did have a few of those to start with, but very few now. But once they made that journey, if someone does leave, I still just send them a, oh, I'm so sorry that you've gone. Hopefully it wasn't anything that I did. I really, I know you've come here for a reason to make a change in your life. I really hope that you find whatever it is that you're looking for. If you don't, you know where I am. I'm always here to talk. Here's my number. Boom. And I've had so many people come back and say, Mike, I really, really want to do this, but at the moment, I'm moving house and this, that, and the other. I will come back, whether they will or not, I don't. But nearly every one of them has responded favourably to say, I'm only stepping out for a little while. I am coming back. So, and that's nice to know that it wasn't something that I did. I didn't neglect them, say something wrong, do something wrong. So it's a nice touch.
That's a really great point, because the thing is, it's never about you. Like, it's so easy to take it personally and get upset about it, but it is never about you. There's so many different reasons why it's not the right time for people, or it's not for them, or whatever. And that's the thing. Just I reach out to mine and say, I'd love to know why you've decided not to continue. Like, please let me know. And it's the same thing. It's often maybe they've got bad health. There's something going on in their family that's just part of it. I think also with regards to like connecting with the apps and members, I'll just quickly run through what I do, because I also do this for Dan, so it might be useful for some people. Obviously, it's up to you how you approach it. And one big question to ask yourself when you get to this stage where you're getting a consistent flow of apps and members that you need to start connecting with, you do need to stop and ask yourself what kind of business you want to be running. Because, not everybody wants to be as hands-on with all of the people coming through, and for many of you've decided to come onto this path because you want a life of freedom, all right? You want more time away from the laptop, away from work or whatever. And of course, we're much more passionate when it's our own business, and many people find that they work more hours because they're so passionate about it, and that's totally cool. But just bear in mind what kind of business you want to build yourself, because if you set yourself up that your apps and members become reliant on you, or like you require the phone calls to be calling all of them to have a healthy business, then what happens when you decide, I've been working really hard on my business for a year or 2 years now, and I want to go and travel for 6 months? What happens then? So it's really good just to get some clarity around that. And there's no wrong or right answer. It's a personal thing. But I know, like, for example, Tim Lowe, who many of you may have heard of, very successful SFM business, but a lot of his success, I don't know about now, but at least before, it was due to him being on the phone all the time to his apps and members. And then, he when he stopped wanting to do that, it had a big impact on his business. Whereas other people are very hands off, like Luke and Brooke. I know that in their follow-up emails, they don't respond to any of their leads. They send a automated message that says, not getting a response, sign up for app. It's like, if you want our help, at least pay $29.95. And a lot of people have the view that, well, we are just affiliates, like, from the moment they sign up as an app, SFM cover everything. So you don't technically have to do anything. If you really want to be hands off, then that's something to think about, because SFM call them, SFM follow up with them, But having said that, when you're growing your business, it is very valuable to make that personal connection, and it does help massively with the skepticism that a lot of people experience in those initial stages. So what I've always done is pretty much based on what Dan does, and I call the apps as soon as I try to do it within 24 hours of them coming through. Obviously depends sometimes what country they're in and what time of day. And then if I don't get through, I will try and follow up, or send a text message or a WhatsApp. I've tried different things. WhatsApp is very good. You can see if they've opened it, so that's really useful. Because with a text you just don't know if they've even read it, and then in my emails I also offer them a chance to book a call with me. So like Mike said, I have a calendar link. They can book in a call. And yeah, not many people really take that option, which is why I still will just like call them anyway, because often if you do get on the phone with them, they are really happy to talk to you. But I think sometimes people are scared to book in that first call with you. You know, they're shy, they're skeptical, they don't know who you are. A lot of people just don't want to reach out. A lot of people are afraid of that for many reasons. And then what else do I do? Oh, and yeah, as soon as possible, get them in the Scrap the 9 to 5 group as well. One thing I'll add with that is they have to be, excuse me, they have to be in the tribe, otherwise I can't accept them into the group. So make sure that it's clear in your communication with your members. They have to be a member. First of all, we don't accept apps, and they have to be in the tribe. So yeah, definitely invite them to the group, because again, there's a whole support system there, and that massively helps people. So I'm conscious that we've run over already. I'm happy to stay a little bit longer if there's any more urgent questions from anyone.
I put that video in the chat. I don't know whether everyone knows it's in there. So if you want to, I don't know whether it stays around and you can use it afterwards.
Brilliant. I have already copied it, so I will put it in the post with the replay. Those of you on the call, you may want to grab that now. Oh, and I'm really sorry, Steve, I didn't even... I forgot to go back to your question. It's good job I've just looked over at that. With regards, so Steve is asking about what's involved in creating a Google compliant website. So what I would recommend for this is there's an elite training that Christian Beer did. If you go into your back office and you go to elite, and then it's in the training vault, because it's quite old now, and I don't remember the dates, but it's a specific elite webinar with Christian Beer, and it's part 2 where they talk about compliance. So for anyone who needs to get an understanding of compliance, then that's a really great webinar to watch. And I believe that Alex Smale did an Elite Insight webinar call, I think it was last Friday, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I might have lost track of time, but it was very recent. And he was going to talk about compliance on it. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw his post where he was announcing it. So I would also go check that one out. Because yeah, there's a bit more involved if you want to advertise on like big platforms like YouTube and Facebook, in order to make sure that your website is, within their rules. The mini site is generally not a good idea for those platforms. So that's definitely something to research and find out more about. Okay, last chance for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to let Mike go. He's been an awesome star. I have personally got so much value out of this call. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to everyone who asked questions, and thank you for showing up and being here. I'm hoping that we can do this more often with different people. I think it's really powerful to have these kind of webinars. Like I'm less keen on having a webinar where it's just me talking at you. I'd much rather have a webinar where I pull people out and we share and learn together. So if anyone if anyone has ideas, or you have things you want from this webinar, like let me know. Like we're trying to we're really having a big push to try and improve the Facebook group and improve the support and the value for everyone. So let me know what you guys need, and we will respond. Other than that, I have nothing left to say. Thank you all for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your evening and day, wherever you are, and I will see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mike.
No worries.